Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Superhost Labs podcast. We are the Carwells, and my name is Sarah.
And I'm Emily.
And today we have two very special guests with us all the way from Canada, Kyan Properties.
How's it going?
What's up?
We're super excited to have you guys on. Before we get too far into this and before we start with a horror story, why don't you guys take a minute and kind of introduce yourselves to our listeners and let us know who you are.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, so I'm Kyle. I'm the Kai to the Ann. Our name is Kyan Properties. So, and then we got my friend here, Andrew. He's the Ann to the Kyan.
Yeah,
So.
you got it.
I love that you guys combined your names because that's exactly what we did with ours too, except we used our last names instead of our first.
There you go.
Yeah, we were, my last name is Glidewell, Emily's last name is Carnes, and there are married last names, but we wanted to use our maiden names, but our maiden names are Doan and Brown, and combined it was Bone and Drown.
Might have caught a couple eyes.
That's a good one.
Don't worry.
Not quite as sketchy. We were like, well, maybe not.
Don't worry. If we put the first portions of our name together, it makes A now. So don't worry about it.
Almost as good. I love it.
Almost might have
Perfect.
drawn in some different crowds, but we're here for everybody.
It looks like we still got the same crowd, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, bone and anal. Great.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, honestly, we digress. Okay, so to kick this episode off, just like we do every other episode, why don't you guys tell us your biggest horror story that you've gone through as Airbnb hosts so far?
Yeah, we can definitely
Do you
do
want to
that.
say it this time?
Yeah, I could definitely do it. So we had one woman stay with us. We thought it was all good. She had 3 5-star reviews. We thought it was going to be awesome. She responded off the jumps. We're like, perfect, no problem. Did you get in okay? No response. Day later, hey, how's it going? No response. We're like, uh-oh, here we go. So she was only there for 3 nights, but cleaner gives me a call the next day. Hey, Andrew, there's some paraphernalia, if you will, on top of the microwave, some loose eyelashes. There is some condoms on the floor of the copious persuasion. There was quite a few of them, so I can only imagine with that volume, you know exactly what's going on. The floors, the closets, they were getting down. So, it turns out she was actually a host herself of a different kind, and she had people coming through, and she was nowhere to be found. She left maybe 6 pairs of shoes, 6 blankets, looked like there was some chemistry homework on there going on. So, yeah, Kyle came in. We strapped up our gloves and our hazmat suits. We cleaned it up, and, yeah, it wasn't too pretty, but we got it done. We got it sanitized, paid for a deep clean, just in case anybody's concerned about the cleanliness, but we got it sorted out.
Oh, my God.
Not good.
No.
Not good. Not good.
Honestly, though, I mean, I feel like I say this on every episode where the horror story involves like a cleaning nightmare, and it just like makes me wonder what hotel cleaners, where they're cleaning like 100x what we're cleaning on a daily basis, what they go through.
Bunch of savages in there, I tell you. Sometimes it's crazy.
I've heard a lot of hosts actually say that people have requested, and they'll like put in the request, we're filming an adult film in your listing, and they just like flat
as long
out
as they
ask.
disclose it. Yeah. If they disclose that, that's fine. They could do you.
If we got to hold a camera or two, we'll do it, but don't just go in there all willy-nilly.
Yeah, one of the guys was like, as long as I get some of the profits off of it, yeah, you can use my listing.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I've had one guest that I'm pretty sure that's what was happening, but they booked through PeerSpace, which, do you guys have PeerSpace in Canada?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep,
we do, but it's not very popular.
It's not very popular.
Like, we put our stuff, we tried it with one property, and we got like 1 hit in like 4 months, so we kind of just like haven't been aiming much on it anymore.
Yeah, it definitely is like very market specific. But that was the guess that I'm pretty sure that's what was going on. I mean, I'm not positive, but it was like one of those situations where they brought in a whole camera team and a couple of people, and then the only thing that was like absolutely destroyed was the bed, and we were like, okay.
I would have rather that than ours, to be honest.
How was it
At least
destroyed?
yours is a show.
It wasn't like really destroyed. It was just like towels and, the bed was the only thing that had been touched. You could tell after they left because they had only rented it out for like maybe 2 or 3 hours for the entire thing. And when we came back, it was like nothing else had been moved at all. It was just the bed was like in shambles and everything around it was in shambles. And we were like, okay.
They knew what they came to do. In and out, quick and dirty.
Yeah,
Professionals,
honestly.
true professionals.
I respect
And
it.
we're not mad. Whatever. If we're making money, they're making money. The world's happy.
And you know what? Another one we just had recently was just we had a unit. We only had one person stay in it. And then we go in after, and they completely stained both bed sheets. But there was only supposed to be two of them, I think. And they stained both sheets, the coach, the pillow, and all the towels.
Oh yeah, I literally
anyways,
just watched your video about that, and I was like, oh, that sucks. Like literally 2 guests in, and the stuff's already destroyed.
People are nasty.
Yeah. So,
oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're an Airbnb host and you're listening to this and thinking about being an Airbnb host, you're going to run into this issue. It just is what it is. It's the name of the game, and you just got to have a good attitude about it.
100%. Nature of the beast, strap up some gloves and do what you got to do.
Amen. Well, I will let Emily kind of kick us off here on some questions with you guys. Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, well, can you guys kind of break down how you got into the Airbnb space? I just went and stalked like all of your properties today, and it looks like you have like 4 condos and 2 townhomes going. So are you like arbitraging those? Did you guys buy any of the properties? Can you break that down for everybody?
So we've kind of had almost like a progressing pricing model. I think that I don't know if you guys are going to ask this question, and I'm alluding into a different question, but I guess one of the hardest parts about especially getting into this industry is a lot of like credibility issues. And I think that the one model that was appealing to us was co-hosting because we find that to be very scalable. But at the beginning, it's kind of hard to approach homeowners being like, yeah, we can, have your property make money with absolutely no evidence to support that. So essentially what we did is we went and got, I don't know if you saw our Capitol Hill townhome. It starts with luxury in the titling, but essentially we found a development company that was willing to rental arbitrage that property for us. And then at the same time, Andrew found a realtor through the cleaning company that we own, that he was already doing Airbnb, but he was obviously a realtor, so he was having a hard time managing all of it. So we ended up taking his properties on that had, furniture. It was already a working Airbnb. I mean, it definitely needed some elbow grease, I guess you could say, quite a bit to get them to par. But so then we just use those 3 properties to leverage into co-hosting. So we used all the marketing content to now show eventually into investors that we brought on later, hey, like this is what we can do. This is what these listings look like. And then we've kind of pivoted to the co-hosting. So yeah, I guess like that's kind of how we're focused now.
Nice. And honestly, I mean, it's such an interesting point that we're kind of catching you guys at, because I know a lot of our listeners are at the stage right before you guys, right? Where they're like, they see the value, they understand how Airbnb works, but really bridging that, like, I'm a newbie, someone take a risk on me gap is like the hardest part. And once you get past that part, it really does start snowballing, where all of a sudden it's like so much easier to talk to potential investors or landlords or apartment complexes or anyone else beyond that on like, look, I do have experience in the space. But at the very beginning, when you don't have any experience, it does take a ton of effort to get in.
100%.
Yeah, and like to anybody who's listening right now, like we just got on 2 more properties in the last 24 hours just by basing off our numbers of our properties that we already have, and it was like that easy. We got 2 more quickly. So it does, to your point, it does snowball pretty quickly when you start rolling.
Yeah, and once you have proof of concept, it becomes so much easier to reach out to investors and to get onto bigger projects. In the short period of time, we've managed to scale up to 15. We have 15 people under contract on top of our 6. So it just starts to snowball once you have that validity behind you and the credibility. So once you can find a way to get the first one down, use the analytics from that, and you'll have so much easier of a time for everybody out there. But it really is a scalable business. So I would encourage many others to try it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like, people who are getting involved in Airbnb, they've already, if they want to get involved, they've got this like entrepreneurial spirit, right?
100%.
And I think with that entrepreneurial spirit makes you want to like do everything on your own. It shies you away from maybe partnering with someone or asking for help or leaning on a mentor. But when you talk about kind of bridging that gap, I've seen so many people who have like found ways to add value to an existing Airbnb investor's life, and then they can kind of use the existing investor's proof of concept to go out and get their own and like use their portfolio and say, look, this is what we're doing, and make it a we thing instead of an I thing. And sometimes that's an easier way to go about it, because you're right, at the very beginning, that proof of concept is what everybody wants. Nobody has at the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's huge defining factor for a lot of people, because I feel like even up here, I think it's still a newer concept to people to even reach out to homeowners. Like we were just talking to these last two people, and like this is the first time that they've heard of Airbnb, obviously, but for someone to actually come out and do this model for them and get them higher income, it seems like a no-brainer to them after we explain it. But it's just a matter of getting to those people that need to hear it.
1000%.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, next question I've got for you guys is, and I know you guys are in the beginning phase, so this might be like 5 years down the road where you guys think you're going to be question. But as you kind of have started getting your feet wet in Airbnb and you've dabbled in co-hosting, you've dabbled in arbitrage, where do you think so far do you imagine yourself kind of niching down into?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, Kyle and I are definitely, we have our feet under us now. We're in a good spot. We're definitely starting to roll where investors are starting to come to us. Clients are starting to be fed to us, which is a good spot to be in. Tough to forecast 5 years from now, but I just left my job. Kyle's about to do the same, where we can both take this on full time. So once we kind of get that under us and we can kind of see what the forecast of us just working and being full-time entrepreneurs looks like, I think we'll have a good idea of which direction we'll go. But co-hosting is definitely the way for us this year. Next year, we'll be able to purchase more properties, and then we can continue to just build our own portfolios instead of, continually managing. Because then instead of, 25, 30%, whatever you're soaking as a co-host, you'll just be able to take 100%, and we can just diversify ourselves that way.
Yeah, absolutely. That seems like kind of the natural progression that a lot of people go through. I think, when we've started consulting people and taking on like these one-on-one consultations, a lot of people will be like, okay, well, they want to start with a lifestyle play where they're like, look, I want this like mountain home in Colorado that I get to retire in. And like, you're skipping like 27 steps before
100%.
You're really ready to take on that beast. So for people who do start in co-hosting and start with arbitrage, you're really setting yourself up with like a super solid foundation of understanding the entire beast as a whole, instead of, one component of it, because your priority was your end game instead of the entire process up to that.
Exactly. And honestly, Kyle and I make a great team to kind of balance those ambitions. We both have our own ideas of what we want the future to look like, but we're a great partnership. And you were saying before that you see a lot of people wanting to do it all on their own. I would really encourage a lot of people to pick up a partner at times, because Kyle and I, we're both great at different items and we both have a different vision, but we can conglomerate it into one path. And eventually it works out, So I would encourage people to pick up a partner where they can as well. That's definitely a pro tip on our end. It's got to be the right fit, and it's difficult to find them. But if you do find somebody you work well with who kind of offsets your skill set, then it's great.
We preach that constantly, because Sarah and I, like, people at the beginning were like, don't partner with anybody. Partnerships are really hard, which Sarah and I are a little different than maybe like a traditional partnership where you just like meet somebody through business. We've known each other since 3rd grade and we're best friends. So that's like a little bit extra. We know each other really well, but I just think I couldn't imagine doing stuff by myself, because there are things that I cannot do. Most people know this about us by now, especially online. Sarah talks way more than I do. I can't. I'm like not great at talking to new people. I am the behind the scenes organized person. But like literally, I don't think we wouldn't bring clients in if it wasn't for Sarah, and our clients wouldn't get an organized product if it wasn't for me. So like the balance has to be there with your partnership, and I just like, there are things that would never get done if I didn't have Sarah.
Oh my God, yeah.
We're the exact same way, and honestly, Kyle and I have known each other maybe since the 10th grade or so, and we both had our own ventures to start off with. We both had different businesses. And then eventually we kind of aligned. He said he was going to try it. I said I was going to try it in a different lane. And I'm like, why don't we just meet up and see if we can start working on this together? But we'd known each other previously and we'd been friends. And then we just started meeting once a week. Then we started meeting twice a week. And next thing you know, we had our first client. We had our first property. And it helps that we live down the street from each other too. We both just bought houses last year. So we live like 30 seconds away. So, you know, when we got to go pick up condoms off the floor, I just go pick them up and then we go there.
We love that.
You're like, if I've got to pick them up, so do you.
100%. 11 p.m., I'm knocking at the door. Get up, Kyle. We got to go.
But Andrew said he uses gloves, but I didn't see him put on one glove. He just grabbed it with his hand.
Nasty. He's telling your secrets.
I saw Kyle picking it up with his teeth, so that's okay. You know, he was feeling real dangerous.
Oh, jeez.
Don't make us start selling secrets. We've got stories for days that we.
Oh no!
Seriously.
No.
You're right, but honestly, I mean, I totally agree. Partnerships are where it's at, especially in this industry. Like, it's just so different from any other form of real estate investing because of the mountain of small moving parts that go into the hospitality side of things. And so especially like for me, Emily's right. I'm the talkative one. I'm the social one. I'm like just kind of in your face. But when it comes to organization, I just can't do it. My brain doesn't work that way. And so any product, like it wouldn't matter if I had the next $1 billion idea. To bring that idea to fruition, it would just be the sloppiest thing in the world and it would never actually happen. So having a counterpart is like the most necessary thing in the world, in our opinion.
It's so important. And to be honest with you, we're very similar.
Yeah, I mean, and I go to bed at like 9:30. So if something happens like after then, like Andrew's able to, you know, take care of it. So
and to be honest with you, Kyle's
I'm an early
analytical
guy.
skills are
Yeah,
he is. Kyle's analytical skills are literally, and you know, double entendre, but they're literally off the charts. This guy has a chart for every single property. He has spreadsheets for every single thing we do. Like, that stuff is organized like nothing you would believe. But I am the exact same way when we meet people. I'm up in your face. I'm like, hello, I'm Andrew. Let's have a good time. You know? So I definitely do that. But Kyle, like, he's incredible on the back end and the front end as well. I got lucky. He's very outgoing as well. So
yeah, you need both.
You need both.
Peanut butter and jelly. Well, go ahead, Emily, with the next question here for him.
Yeah, well, one, that's really, you said that you guys are going to be quitting your full-time jobs. That's really exciting, finally taking that leap. I personally graduated with my master's degree and I didn't get a job, and Sarah quit hers. So when she finally did and was like kind of unemployed with me, it was very exciting. Yeah. But it's fun to just like take that leap. But okay, so with co-hosting specifically, now that you guys have like a ton of experience in getting these properties kind of going, how do you talk to people about like how much money do you invest on the front end to get the properties going? And then when you guys are going to do properties in the future, how do you like think about putting money into properties?
Do you want to go? Or I can explain this one. So like I said before, like our pricing schedule kind of, because we were putting up front a lot of incentives there to get properties off the rip. So we were furnishing them originally. We were putting money into them. However, now from here on out, starting the last so we've gotten 7 properties now that are on contract, so they're going to be opening up in the next month. But we don't put any money into them. The homeowner fronts all the money for us, and then there's the co-hosting split. So we do the 75-25 split with the homeowner.
Do you ever like recommend, or like when you're the one to like go and look at the property, to know how much you're trying to be profitable, do you recommend like this is how much I think you need to put into furnishing to make it a truly like luxury and profitable property? Or do you kind of let them decide how much they want to invest?
No, because like we try to maintain a certain look, right? So I feel like if we were to give that to the homeowner, then I think that it kind of, you know, veers it off track, and you know, you get a bunch of different looks. So we have an interior designer that we work with, and she kind of goes in there and we know her, we trust her, so she kind of gives it the look. You know, from previous projects we worked on, we have obviously the cost of how much it costs. So like I was saying before, when we were furnishing them, now we have obviously the numbers for a 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, a 1-bedroom. So we go, hey, look, like this is probably what it's going to cost. We're asking for an allowance up front. for this amount, and then we can provide receipts, and we'll save money where we can, but this is what it's going to look like at the front, and then that would be the startup cost that we would ask for. So
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I think too, I mean, if you're going to be managing properties, I mean, you're paid off of the profitability of those properties. So if you're dealing with hosts who are not starting a solid business from the get-go and they're not willing to put in the amount of money that it takes to have a well-designed, well-rounded, functional property, I mean, you guys aren't getting paid either. You're going to be forced to lower your overall price point, and lowering your overall price point is going to bring in guests that are worse than your nightmare situation, and it's not worth that squeeze, right? At that point, you'd be like, let's just cut ties. I don't want to, this isn't worth the amount of money that it's bringing in.
100%.
Yeah. No,
that's also 100%. Why we gear most of our attention towards investors, in contrast to where I feel like a lot of people starting out will gear their focus towards homeowners to flip their properties into arbitrage. At this point, we almost solely focus our attention towards investors because they already know why they're getting into this game. They're banking on appreciation, they're banking on their equity, and we're just the cherry on top of like, hey, instead of your $100, $200 that you could make through long-term rental, we can obviously provide you with more ROI. But by seeking out investors, you kind of remove this barrier of people who are trying to nickel and dime you on like, oh, I've already done this, or like, I've already done that. They know what they're here to do. They're usually business savvy people. That kind of removes that barrier for you, and then you can spin there with a lot less friction.
Oh my gosh, amen. We're going through that as well. It's one of those things that as we continue building Superhost Labs, it's like there's always this push and pull of like, okay, I want to prioritize the mom and pop. Like I want to like be the step that somebody gets to step on to get a leg up, you know, and get introduced into this world that's changed our lives. But in that same breath, it's like the expectation or the unfamiliarity maybe of someone who is not an investor, who's not business savvy, who doesn't understand the long game, who maybe is more money desperate or whatever else, they end up being your time suck. And as a new business, you can't afford a ton of time sucks. And so, yes, absolutely, investors are 9 times out of 10 the easier way to go.
100%. You got to pick and choose your battles. And like, I know it's really tough when you're starting out because you really want to indulge yourself in any lead that pops up. But once you kind of hit, you know, the 5, 6, 7, 10 property mark, you have the ability to become a little bit more choosy with who you're taking on. You don't have to nickel and dime anybody else or anything like that. And you can kind of narrow down your niche of who you're looking for.
Yeah, 1000%. This isn't on the list of questions, but I'm curious, when you guys are targeting investors, what does that process look like for you? Like, how are you meeting these investors? How are you pitching yourselves? How are you closing them? What does it look like?
Kyle, you want to go on that one?
Yeah, I mean, most of our investors so far I found through Facebook real estate groups. So essentially, I started just posting our occupancy rates after like the first 3, and how our occupancy rate was so high, and then I ended up just getting a couple leads on just people that are interested in, especially investing in Calgary, you know, because most of these investors are Canadian, but they're in Toronto and Vancouver, which is a lot higher price point. So not only do they see an opportunity to invest, but they also saw the opportunity in short-term rentals and how well we're doing with the occupancy. Because, you know, I think that there's a big negative connotation with Airbnb or with short-term rentals, thinking like, oh, well, I'm, you know, some months it's going to go 20%, you know, occupied, and I'm just going to lose money every single month. And, you know, that's not the case. Especially that's why you would hire someone like us that has the processes in place. Like, we have the pricing software, we have the cleaning software, and the central hub that lists it on all the platforms. So, you know, when you come and invest with us, like, there's a lot of things you can leverage, you know, along with the different accounts and the reviews that we have. So we can send your property from 0 to 100 quickly. Then you can learn all these processes, and you're still taking the majority of the revenue. So I really feel like that it's a no-brainer, and like that's why I feel so easy to talk to people about it, because why sit around and potentially get like $100, $500 cash flow when I can be like, hey, like I can get you 1,000, 1,500, 2,000.
1,000%.
You know, so at the end of the day, like, so, you know, it makes way more sense when you explain it like that. And then I could be like, okay, well, I have this property's numbers and this property's. So, it's easy. I think that it's a lot easier to talk to investors that way. So
Yes. Facebook Marketplace, Facebook groups. I preach that on so many different levels, and it's so good to hear that like other people are experiencing that same thing, because I feel like, in the past, networking was like rubbing shoulders with people in environments, and you had to like shake their hand, exchange a business card, have a drink, like do this whole dance. But now it's not. Now we live in a digital world, and now it's on social media. And if you don't think it's on social media, you're missing the boat. Like, it's insane to think that you can't network on social media. I mean, that is how we built our bread and butter as well, is just like shaking hands and kissing babies online. It didn't require us to do any in-person rubbing shoulders. And so it feels like even if you are not an outgoing person like me or Andrew, you still can absolutely network, because it's just, you're typing, right? You're showing what you can do. You get to show yourself off, and you're just typing. So take advantage of that.
There's no shame in the internet,
Well, I guess like people a perfect example.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This is, look at how we've met, just kind of through shooting a DM. And some people forget that like a lot of that tension or that friction or that, social obscurity that you go through when, you try and go up, hey, I actually do this, and you try and meet somebody brand new. It's like the internet relinquishes that entire premise, right? That's kind of the same game as online dating. It's relinquished this entire barrier of having to go and meet somebody, do the whole dance. It's a quick interaction, bing bang, and you're either in or you're done. So and I think that's also a testament to why online presence is so important. And that's why Kyle and I work so actively to create that, and like make fun videos together, show us doing other things. Like, not only is it fun, but it's like, yeah, we do this all the time, people take interest, and it's like, it's free exposure. So I know it's hard for people to get in front of the camera, and I know you have 9 million people on the internet preaching, yes, put out 1,000 videos, this, that, and the third. But like, if you put out 1 or 2 a day and you just have fun with your partner that you're working with, it pays dividends, because people will see you. Somebody's going to ask a question. Somebody's got an aunt or an uncle who's got a gajillion dollars in the bank, and they're ready to roll with you. So it's definitely worth it to create an online presence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, almost every big opportunity that Emily and I have been handed was because somebody saw us on social media. Like, it's one of those things that, like, sure, we found our properties at the beginning, we started designing for people at the beginning, but like the expansion that we had at the rate that we had was exclusively due to our social media presence. And I mean, it doesn't have to be big. Like, our social media presence is like recently large, and people are like, oh my God, you exploded so fast. And I'm like, no, we were like, in our minds, with what we could handle at the time, we're exploding with hardly any followers, because we just needed a few clients, right? It's not like you need to have several thousand people find you. You need one at the beginning.
Yeah, I definitely think some people forget that in business. They're seeking out, oh, I need 1 million eyes, I need 1 million transactions. But it's like, when you're in the business of especially real estate or larger transactions, you just need a couple. You need a couple to send you over the edge, to help build credibility, to help build proof of concept. And those singular deals are not just like, oh, I made $50. It's literally like, I'm making an extra $1,000, $2,000 a month. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a volume thing up front. You're just looking to get a few to put you over the hump.
1000%. Emily, is it my turn for questions, or is it yours?
Well, you asked a one-off question, so I'll go next.
Okay, perfect.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge in the real estate business right now? Like, when you're trying to find properties with these investors, or are they finding them? What are the challenges that you're facing with that right now?
I mean, like, challenges as in, challenges as in running the actual, the Airbnb kind of short-term rental business, or like, okay, so you said, sorry if I trip up, but or finding investors, like the biggest challenge in finding investors?
Yeah, finding investors and properties, and just, I mean, getting them up and running is like part of the challenge too, right? So like, what are the biggest ones that you're facing right now?
Yeah.
Could be any obstacle.
Not finding enough.
Fair enough.
I'm trying to think, what other obstacles do we go through?
Yeah, honestly, you got a better one?
Yeah, maybe, in terms of obstacles, like one of the biggest barriers that I'd say, yeah, go ahead, Kyle. He's in the mall, so the connection's not the
I
most
was gonna say
optimal. That's
that.
where that's coming from.
I mean, it's my phone connection. It should be good, but anyways, so I was thinking, yeah. So the condo boards is a big problem here. It's probably a big problem down there too, as well. With all the different regulations that are coming into play, and there's just going to be more and more regulations, I believe, especially with the way that the housing market is, and the interest rates are going up. So it's going to be causing more people not being able to afford homes, which then I think people will start to target short-term rentals. And so me and Andrew have kind of thought about some contingency plans just for the future of exactly how we're kind of wanting to mitigate potential regulation changes. But yeah, I would say that's the biggest problem, because like essentially we could go and to anybody that owns at least a condo downtown and be like, hey, let's do this. But yeah, so these policies are kind of killing us.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because you are in a few condos from the properties that I saw, and like HOA regulations in condos and in certain like residential neighborhoods here are kind of hard to get around the regulations. So that's the same thing for you guys, is like certain ones have really strict regulations.
Yeah, that's also why we mostly gear our investors towards townhouses, because you'll see a little bit more appreciation than you would in a condo. We still are able to hit the inner city. We're able to occupy more people in the home, but it's not the same workload as a single detached home. And you also mitigate the condo boards. So that's kind of our medium of what we present to our investors. Yeah, they're a little bit more expensive than condos, but you're not running into a concierge, a condo board. You don't have, one person above, below, left, right, and front, right? So you're just disturbing a lot less people. And for zoning in Calgary, it's not necessarily as strict as it is in a Vancouver or a Kelowna or any of those more vacation type spots. They haven't necessarily cracked down on residential type areas.
Gotcha. Yeah. I know like we've run into, in Michigan specifically, it's like every county gets to decide how they can regulate it. So like I'm in Grand Rapids and you can't do it here. But then like over in Grand Haven, you can, if you can get approval, if it's a non-residential area. So it's really, really specific. And each
Gotcha.
state has like different things. Like sometimes it's the whole state can do whatever, and then sometimes the counties get to decide. And so it can be really difficult to like navigate it per state.
Yeah, hopefully they'll just switch it to where the whole nation can do it, but I doubt that'll happen anytime soon. I mean,
I doubt that.
we're 50
Yeah.
states united and divided all in one.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, though, that they allow townhomes, because here in the U.S., like townhomes, we just don't even mess with because HOAs are so strict on those as well. How do properties perform out there that are like out in the country, right? That are like maybe around Banff or like, I don't know, just like outside of the city? Are you guys looking at getting into that market at all, or do you think you'll stay close to the city?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of more vacation style amenities not too far from us. So we have a Canmore, like you mentioned, a Banff, we have an Invermere, we have a lot of mountainous terrain, a lot of lakes. So that provides a lot of vacation, like legitimate vacation rental style properties. We're definitely looking to get into Invermere, which is not too far. We have something going on in Canmore that we're looking to lock in the next few months. And the market, in contrast to Calgary versus those vacation rentals, is just so exponentially great
Way more
in these
lucrative.
Canmores and the Banffs. Banffs, you would run into those zoning issues where short-term rentals aren't allowed, but you backtrack a few minutes to Canmore,
Yeah.
and these people are probably, three times in the top performing properties in Calgary. It's insane because the mountains are there.
Yeah.
There's skiing. There's everything that people come to Calgary to do, and then if you get a hot tub and a view to compound further, it's just like $600, $700, $800, $900 a night, and this thing's booked out to the nines. So some people are bringing in like $300,000, $400,000 a year.
As they should be. Banff is like a jaw dropper. It doesn't matter where you are from in the world. Banff
Yeah,
is just one of those places that everyone talks about.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
And
on everybody's bucket list.
exactly. And that's why having it so close is such a huge benefactor for a place like Calgary, because maybe we don't have quite the sports teams that a Toronto does or the ocean that a Vancouver does, but we have enough surrounding amenities and we're urban enough inside the city to where we can draw enough of a pull to actually make Airbnb sustainable.
Well, if you get a property in Banff, let a bitch know. I want to come.
Done deal. We'll definitely sort that out for you.
Thanks. Okay, I'll ask the next question here. So far on your real estate journey, what has been the most valuable piece of advice that you've been given?
Ooh, been given.
Never. Oh, yeah. Well, never stop trying. Honestly, be consistent.
Amen.
No, I was gonna say, like, it took us like a good 6 months before we started actually, getting the ball rolling. Thinking how, like, the best way to get these people to lock in with us. So, yeah, be consistent and keep going. Like, don't get unmotivated quick.
Yeah, and I think for me, like I had somebody share with me because I had a lot of things on the go, and there's a lot of, different directions being pulled, especially while you're still working. We own the cleaning company. We both have other things, and someone told me like eventually you're going to have to dial in your focus, and you're going to have to find a way to really pick one, focus your energy towards that. And I was always feeling super stressed out because there was so much on the go, and as soon as I was, I kind of took that to heart. I was like, maybe I just need to cut a few things out to really put my best foot forward in the thing that has the best chance and I feel the most strongly about. And as soon as I started to eventually delegate and cut a few other items out and obviously move on from my job, you can just see it pay dividends, and you start to grow exponentially. Your mind starts to free up. Your stress levels start to go down in some regard. But yeah, I would say focus on one thing. Put your energy towards one, grow it, and then you can move on to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like a thing with entrepreneurs is we all think that we have to be doing every single thing in the business. And at the beginning, maybe that's true, right? Like you can't always at the beginning afford to hire people to do the other stuff.
Yeah.
But as you can delegate things, it makes sense to do that. Sarah and I learned, even with the two of us being a partnership, that there's just things that we don't know how to do, that we don't want to do. And that was like the pain points in our business. And now that we have other people that's doing that stuff for us on our, like with Superhost Labs as a team, it's so much easier and we like it so much more, and we're so much more motivated to keep going because we're not having to do the things that we don't want to do. And so I think like when people are like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, they think that they have to do it all, and you don't.
Definitely. I think it's the Achilles heel to.
I think a good.
Go ahead, Kyle. So sorry. I'm gonna give Kyle 5 seconds after everybody says that.
I was gonna say. I was gonna say, yeah, because like one of the things that we did earlier on is we would clean, or we'd be more in charge of cleaning stuff. But now at this point, it's like, okay, let's go get someone else to do it, so we can focus on, getting more properties, or focus on something else that we're better at. So it doesn't spread us too thin, I guess.
I think, and back to your point, Emily, I think it's the Achilles heel for most entrepreneurs is everybody feels so personally attached to every aspect of their business. And I think everybody wants to believe that they have the skills or the ability to do everything. But that's why most people fail, is because they just get overrun, they get burnt out, and they don't want to spend, the extra 30, 40K, 50K to hire somebody to do some aspect of their business. And next thing you know, they're run dry because they didn't want to bring on somebody to do marketing. They didn't want to bring on somebody to do sales. And, I feel like you hear all these points all the time from all these different business people, but it's true. Kyle's good at something, I'm good at something. And as you begin to peel back the layers of your business, you'll see that you have more time to focus on that aspect that you're good at. You can grow that, and you can hire out and delegate for the rest of the portion of your business.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from like some of the most famous business owners are like single business owners, right? Like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, like these are like single people as the face of it, but you're not seeing all of the people behind them that like lifted them to get there. But I think that's where people are like, oh, I'm going to be the next Elon Musk, and they think that they need to do it all on their own, when you absolutely do not. He did not get there by himself. He's a smart guy, sure, but like he didn't get to his place by himself. And I think that mentality, like what you're seeing is not actually what's happening behind the scenes. So it's nice to have people talk about the backup and like delegating other things.
And the brilliance is really understanding where you're most valuable. Like, people at the beginning will argue, well, I can't afford a marketer, or I can't afford a bookkeeper, or I can't afford the CPA, or whatever it is. But in reality, you can't afford not to hire them. Like you're just going to ruin yourself if you don't. And so it's like, why are you sacrificing the backbone of your business for these like minutiae. Like, stop, please pay for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think people forget that the whole point of this is to eventually, at some point, peel back those layers, but really enjoy what you're doing. Don't lie to me. You don't like tracking all those receipts. You don't like posting on Instagram 3 times a day. You don't care. Some people like to go out and meet people. Some people do like to create those charts. I think people lack the self introspection to be like, what do I really like out of my business, and how do I make my sole focus to get there and hire the right amount of people so that I can just focus on this portion that I do enjoy. Because you want to like your job. That's the whole point of doing this. We don't like cleaning. We don't like tracking receipts. We like making deals and having fun and spending time together, So why not make that focus and not lose sight of that? I think a lot of entrepreneurs do.
Yeah, absolutely. I like tracking receipts, but that's...
See, some people about it. Some people about it.
I know.
Some people are down for the cause.
Not my cause.
My color-coded calendar would argue that I love tracking everything.
Kyle's profitability charts are through the roof. Those things, A1. Those are juicy.
I like spending the money and handing the receipt over to Emily. No, but there was so much gold there. Yeah, I agree. It really is about delegating your time and being self-aware of where your time is best spent, because although we think we are superhuman and can do it all, we cannot.
Definitely.
It's your question, right?
Definitely not. Yes, it is, and you gave me the one with the hard work. Sarah always says pivotal wrong. Okay, has there been any pivotal moments in your guys' journey that's like changed your overall strategy on how you want to run everything?
I would say just running out of money. You just want to, I think that it's like, that's why we wanted to pivot towards co-hosting so much rather than, doing the whole rental arbitrage road, is because it's so much more scalable. If you keep all your capital liquid rather than keep putting it into furniture, then it's so much easier, I think, to get going. So yeah, I would say that.
I agree. I think at some point you have to really put your best foot forward and seek out what your scalability is going to look like. And if you're constantly dropping, a large lump sum into every profit or into every property, and you're waiting 5-6 months to regain that capital, you're not going to be able to really see the fruits of your labor until, years later. And if you continue to scale, it's just going to be a constant cycle. So I think you have to seek out what that pivotal moment's going to look like. How am I going to switch to not dropping liquid into every single property? And how do I put this onus on the owner? So as soon as we figured out that's the direction we wanted to go, we were able to stay more liquid.
Yeah, and another thing too is I think that, with rental arbitrage, your profit margins are a bit higher. However, you run a bigger risk, especially in the slower months. You might not be making any money. So at least with this, with the co-hosting option, it's less risk, less capital, as well as you're making money all year round. The profit margins aren't as big, but that's just
oh my gosh, yes. There's so much there. I mean, I think so many people look at co-hosting as the way to get in because it doesn't cost them any money to put it down, but also there's the flip side of that it's bringing you in capital consistently, and you are paid before the investor is paid. And I mean, I will scream all day long that if you don't have a heart for hosting, and you are not a people person, and you don't understand hospitality, you cannot afford to not have a co-host. You can't afford to not hire a property manager. They will pay for themselves, and they will pay you more than you would have ever made on your own. But especially in the beginning phases, anything that cash flows has to be king. It cannot be, I want to buy the biggest, baddest property that I want to own forever and be flashy. It's not it. You have to start small, and you have to get that cash flow coming in to be able to reinvest into properties that you own.
100%. That's the whole point of this structure, right? It's like it's a cash flowing business model. That's what you have to do. That's what you have to keep in mind, and you're eventually using this as leverage for whatever your next step looks like. I think a lot of people just, they get stuck in the arbitrage hole, but they don't want to explore this other version. But you kind of have to do it to start. I understand that. But once you get over the hump, you definitely should be making your aim towards co-hosting, because it's infinitely less exposure for yourself, and you're guaranteed money every single month. Even if it's only $100, at least you're taking home $25.
I was going to say, I guess it depends on what your goals are too. Like, our goal is just to create an empire, but some people might just be okay with, doing the rental arbitrage thing. I just take a peek at what your 5 year goal is, or your 1 or 2 year goal.
I like to hear that you want it to be an empire. It's like when you look at a 5-year goal, you're like, oh, we don't really know. But to know that you guys are like, look, we're in this, we want to build this, and we want to build this as big as we can build it. That's not everyone's goal, right? I mean, that's kind of the beautiful thing about Airbnb is
100%.
it can fit into whatever you want it to, right? If you want to just be a co-host, you can just be a co-host. If you want to just arbitrage, you can just arbitrage. And if you're at a stage in your life where you want a couple of vacation homes, but you can't afford that monthly mortgage on your own, you can just get a couple of vacation homes. But, every now and then we'll run into people like y'all who are like, you know what? I want to build this bitch big. And so that's super exciting. I mean, you guys are, starting from the ground up, and it'll be exciting to see how big you guys get to make it.
We appreciate that. Yeah. And it's, again, the self-introspection thing. Like, you have to know what you're looking to do. Kyle and I, we work very consistently. We work super hard. And the fact that we were able to get to 15 in this short amount of time, like, there's no reason that we can't continue to scale this. Like, both of us believe in our heart that if we can do 15 in this amount of time, like, what does a year, 2 years, 3 years look like? We sitting on a beach,
yes.
hanging out.
That's always the end goal, right? Sitting on a beach doing our thing. Okay, well, I have one more question for you as we kind of wrap it up here. What is each of because I'm sure the answer is different for both of you, what is your least favorite part of Airbnb?
Cleaning. Anything to do with cleaning. I just don't like cleaning at all. But I understand it's a portion. So, but anyways, I'm mentally making it through. But yeah, cleaning for sure.
I would say for myself, it would be the late night inquiries of requests past 11 p.m. because as my partner said earlier, my man likes to sleep at 9:30 p.m. So if there's anything past 9:30, it's up to Andrew to take them on, and people have some pretty demanding requests at 11 p.m. when they should be in bed. But nonetheless, I'm here with a smile to make sure you get your towels and your water, and, rock your child to sleep because he can't sleep, and whatever you need. So, yeah.
So if you're taking the 11:30 ones, that means Kyle takes the 4 a.m. ones, right? It's a trade-off.
I'm up with that boy too, so I don't know.
Well, good for you. I'm not up at 4 a.m. I hired a property manager specifically so I wouldn't have the 11 p.m. and the 4 a.m. ones. That's my thing, is I'm like, you can take a percentage of my profits specifically so I don't deal with those issues. I don't want it. Well, as we wrap up here, why don't you guys go ahead and plug yourselves? Tell us our listeners where they can find you so they can watch your journey while you're making it big.
Kyle,
They'll find us on at Kyan Properties at TikTok and Instagram, Facebook. Kyan Properties, Kyan Properties. Probably know how to spell that one. And the boys are on there, so
and we will add all of your stuff into the bio on both our podcast and our YouTube video. So for our listeners, if you want a link, it's going to be below. So make it easy on you so you don't have to spell properties.
Awesome. We really appreciate the time. Thank you for having us on. We really appreciate it, and you guys are doing really awesome.
Yeah, and we'll have to come back in 5 years and do a recap. See, we'll include clips of this, and then we'll take a look at where you're at, down the road.
Yeah,
Definitely.
See where the empire is.
Awesome. We appreciate the time, guys.
We should come down to see where you guys are at.
Hey, we're in Michigan, so we're not too far from Canada.
There you go.
Well, you're far from us, though. Michigan is over by Ontario, no?
The wrong side,
right,
but still pretty close.
Wrong side of Canada.
Well, Emily, do you want to plug where people can find us?
Yes, you guys can find us at Superhost Labs on Instagram and TikTok, or at superhostlabs.com. And then Sarah and I are at the Carwells everywhere else.
Beautiful.
All the places.
Well, thanks again, guys. It was a pleasure hosting you, and I'm sure we will have some healthy banter back and forth and some social media interactions as we move forward. So thanks again, and thanks to our listeners. You guys are the reason we keep doing this. I hope you're learning things and making your Airbnb journey better and better through these. So thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Take care, everyone.